Ooh, bless you. Sorry about that, y'all. We had a little fairy do a drive-by sneeze in the studio.
Does that count as the clap?
Yeah.
Little fairy sneezes?
Just sneeze like a man, honestly. Just let that shit out. I just need a hearty.
That's so funny.
All right, what are we calling this?
Welcome to Finessing Hollywood, presented by Comedy Productions. I'm Ben Taylor, this is Isaiah Taylor, where we're going to talk about the ins and outs of the Hollywood film and TV business as we see it, and how we're doing our best to break through and work around and make some money and take care of our families.
Yeah.
The families that we know of and the families that we don't know of.
Yeah. Are you implying that I have a secret family somewhere?
I mean, Deidre told me to ask. Oh, man. Well, I mean, we're going to get into, Ivory and Gold, right?
Yeah. Welcome back to your favorite podcast with Sneezy and Sleepy. We're making a movie, huh?
Yes. We are. We're working on a couple things.
Yeah.
We're working on a couple things. Like we mentioned, Electric Sleep was kind of our team's first feature film that we own.
Mm-hmm.
We have this big screening date that we're looking forward to in September, and we're hoping to pack it full of screening some other stuff.
Yeah.
Which I still think is very possible.
Oh, yeah. It's going to get
kick
done.
some ass.
It's going to happen.
But I think it has to happen.
I think everybody else also wants it to happen.
I think
They're
so.
just waiting for us to punch them in the mouth.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I just talked to Theo on my, before coming here.
Yeah.
So he just got off the phone with Novi.
Yeah.
Novi Brown, she's on Sisters. She's super dope. She's one of our producers, partners, and she's going to star in a couple things with us.
Mm-hmm.
She's like beyond excited. She's
Yeah.
like on some like, hey, if I'm in town for these 3 days, tell me which day we're shooting. Like
Yeah.
she's on that right now.
Yeah.
Like she's ready to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're trying to just have this really big night where, we're going to show off an Electric Sleep,
Mm-hmm.
but we also we want people to see new stuff too.
Yeah.
Especially, there's probably going to be a fair amount of people that we'd like to invite out to party with us in September
Mm-hmm.
that have already seen Electric Sleep.
Yeah.
Which, God bless you if you want to see the movie twice. That makes me feel nice. But we'd like to give them some new content.
Yeah.
And so we've been working on this thing, Ivory and Gold,
Yeah.
which Theo came up with that name.
Yeah.
I likes it.
Yeah. No, it's a great name. I had this conversation with Theo actually when we were talking about the title, and he was just saying how, he likes the idea of titles that are a little bit like thematic or they hint at something, right? So it's not your titles where it's just like Fast 13. It's all about family, right? And then in the movie, Vin Diesel says it's all about family, and you're like, oh my God, he said the title in the movie.
Yeah.
But it's just one of those where it kind of hits to, it evokes a little bit of like history and intrigue.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking about the elements. Whenever you hear Ivory and Gold, right, kind of takes you back to Africa,
Right.
So that's just one of those things that I was just like, yeah, that's right.
Well, which is kind of, so the idea that started the project, Isaiah and I and Theo, which is a gentleman that's going to be on the podcast. He's our main director buddy.
Mm-hmm.
The three of us were kind of sitting talking about like, we can do projects together, but like, what would be the smartest project that we could do together that also makes business sense?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's kind of what it was kind of coming down to. It was like, we each kind of have our own proclivities and we have plenty of overlap, but like, what would be a great idea that we can, accomplish, but is also like just a money idea? And we've been batting back and forth this thought of, Black Harry Potter.
Further backstory, right, is we're all nerds.
Mm-hmm.
We love superheroes. We love sci-fi.
Mm-hmm.
Star Trek, Star Wars, that's our speed, right? And when, as we're trying to create stories and make movies and things like that, we're trying to find ways to, one, have ownership, right? Which is the whole
Right.
independent
Right.
filmmaker route
Right.
that we're doing. But it's also, trying to figure out how to do things on a budget, but create things that can still have an impact, beyond just our circle of friends. Not necessarily like chasing virality, if you will, but, just something that'll make a little bit of noise. And so, we were trying to look through like our different favorite franchises and, what are different twists on the stories that we kind of put, our own little voices into, especially seeing Black characters in spaces that we don't see them. Specifically thinking about the Harry Potter films that, had a lot of minorities in the background, but weren't necessarily any of the leading characters or didn't really have a lot of speaking roles, if you will. So we just thought, like, what if a kid in South LA found a wand? What happens?
What happens? What does that mean? Where does it come from? What is the universe that introduces?
Yeah.
And it's great because it's one of those things where, one, we don't have much money at all, right? We're fortunate to have a few resources where we believe we can accomplish something short, something contained. So this project is only going to be about 20 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes, depending on where we land on stuff. And it's a limited cast.
Yeah.
So if you think about some of the constraints, and constraint is probably the wrong word. I'm about to sound like a corny teacher.
Yeah.
Think of the opportunities.
Yeah.
But really that's what it comes down to is.
No, I mean, the rules make it fun, right? And so the rules that we're playing with is we can't use a lot of locations and we can't have just a huge ensemble of characters.
Yeah. Or even you kind of get into it of like, we can't have a huge VFX moment, right?
How do we make a magic movie without VFX?
Right. And that's part of the fun of like what we were diving into.
Yeah.
And like, again, I can't wait till Theo can get on the show with us, because the way he thinks about story and film, oh man, especially again, we're talking about this Venn diagram. He really helped us break away from, Black Harry Potter, and we've all seen the art at this point. We've seen the merch and all that cool stuff. Obviously, we're excited about Hogwarts Legacy and all the customization. Like, damn, how long does it take to get dreadlocks in a video game? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, crazy.
The 2K dreadlocks have not been great over the years. So, to get it in Hogwarts is crazy.
It's been rough. The AI art of Black Harry Potter.
Yeah, the concept.
Fire.
Yeah.
But how do we break away from just making fan art?
Right.
And just biting off of something.
Because it's not the Black Harry Potter, right? Like, we're not doing something that's like, oh, this black kid is the chosen one and he's got this crazy birthmark, and like, oh no, he doesn't have his parents. What?
Like, yeah, sure, you could do that all day and it's technically original. Like,
yeah.
AKA, Blackula, it exists. Like, you can do stuff like that and you can still have fun with that kind of stuff. But what we wanted to do was we had the jumping off point and we're like, okay, now what is our project? And man, the types of questions, and I would say, to anyone listening that is starting to get into their storytelling journey, wanting to take it serious and wanting to figure out how to create the next big thing, or you have this idea that you can't verbalize just yet and you're working on it and maybe you've been working on it for years. You can't ask enough questions.
Yeah.
And if you don't have the answer to the question, figure it out. Sometimes there's questions that you don't necessarily need the answer to, but you also need to know enough about your project by asking enough questions to need to know what answers you need to have for you to move forward. And I think that's been a beautiful part of what we've been doing.
Just simply to that, right? Like, because we asked a lot of questions and we knew the story inside and out, we were able to figure out exactly what we needed to tell this contained story while still giving the audience everything that they need to understand both the world and the characters and the stakes. The stakes of the individual, the stakes of all of the secondary characters and like what they're dealing with, and also like we get to play with magic. Like
Yeah.
that shit is fun.
Theo and I, we've been out here about 10 years. And then you've been out here about, what,
About
5 years?
yeah.
And, separately, we've done a lot. Together, we've done even more. And that's, again, going back to this conversation we had about what's the Venn diagram that the three of us can accomplish and also makes business sense. We're talking about things that we know that we can get done. This isn't just dreaming for dreaming's sake. We're also coming from a place of, hey, do you still have so-and-so's number that can do X, Y, and Z?
Yeah.
Okay, bet. So now we know we can accomplish this scene or this moment or whatever, this idea. And I think that is like, it's been one of the more refreshing creative processes so far.
This experience, I know you and Theo aren't necessarily like dying to write for TV like I am, but this experience has definitely solidified for me the need to be working in a writer's room because it was that instant collaboration and instant feedback, and because it's not just like, I mean, we've all had to write our own scripts, and you're by yourself and you write it and then you send it out to your friends for notes and feedback, but like that immediate like, let's talk about this while I'm still in the outline process of like, what does this mean? And like everyone has an opinion and we talk about something and you might say some outlandish, ridiculously dark, crazy thing, but it sparks an idea for Theo, and Theo says, well, what if that, but like we just flip it this way, and then that creates something in me, and I'm like, oh, so we could just, what if we put this character in this situation, and all of a sudden we've got something that we all equally have like ownership stake in, but it's still fully like unique. I don't know. It's been a great process.
That is definitely like when I do think about the differences between kind of the indie film world and that route, and then the TV route and what it is to kind of climb up in those ladders and learn how to play ball that way. Man, there is nothing like just being in a room with a bunch of creatives and no idea is a bad idea.
Yeah.
And you're just throwing stuff against the wall, and most of it doesn't stick. It can't. You're only looking for a few things to stick, or like what you're saying, I say something, and I've learned over the years to not censor my ridiculous, dark, whatever.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Because there is something that you can glean out of it, and like, man, those moments when you all look at each other and realize like someone just said something that you've never heard of before.
Because you're seeing, it's like playing a board game and like playing chess, right? But you see things like different moves ahead, but everybody's watching the game differently.
Yeah.
So like I might be seeing something with certain pieces on the board, but you're like, well, there's a whole sequence of moves over here on the left side that you're not even paying attention to, right? Like it's just some, and it works so beautifully.
You find that one move, and you because I know we're being really vague about this thing. First of all, because we are talking more about the process of making something that you're super excited and proud of.
Yeah.
But I got to tell you guys, we, with some of the things that we're throwing back and forth, we came up with something that feels like the movie Dope. It feels like the show The Wire.
Yeah.
It feels like Harry Potter.
Yeah.
But it even feels like Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse at times.
Yeah.
And like, I'm just like when I read, and it's just 20 pages, but I'm just like, damn, I can't wait for the show. Can't wait for the movie.
Yeah.
I can't wait for the 5th movie.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see this kid when he's 5 years older.
Yeah.
I just can't, like, I think we really created something phenomenal. But but there's that key word, we, right?
100%.
There's a death of ego, and we're just bringing our own proclivities and our own interests and our own personalities, and we just threw it all in a pot.
And its best idea wins, right?
Yeah.
And not in a win sense of like, we're competing or anything, but it's literally like what you said, right? The no ego, right? Like the best thing that's going to help us make the best version of this story is what's going to go in. And even though I'm technically the one who penned the script, like that story is by all of us. And I made sure like, no, you guys are on this as story, story by, because I couldn't have made it without you. And I'm so excited to see like the next step of this, like when Theo puts this, on camera. Like
this idea, what it is, written by you, right, is one way. But what it would have been like if you came up with all the development and then sent the script to us after, right?
Right.
It still would have been good.
It would have just been a different story.
It would have been very different versus what if I did it, right?
Yeah.
It would have been good, but it probably would have been, a little...
Yeah.
Way darker.
A lot more death.
There'd be some blood in there. Yeah, someone's definitely dying.
Yeah. Well, a few people are dying for sure. There's death.
There was going to be some heartbreak.
Yeah, but
but it's like, there's
all of a sudden mom has cancer and auntie got kidnapped and big brother is dang bro, like it could have gotten dark.
It would have gotten dark, but it's like there's just the power of collaboration and storytelling.
Yeah,
is fun. And so we're looking at making this project this summer. Looks like we're looking at July.
Yeah.
We've got most of our cast locked in. We've got some great people that are really excited about joining up.
Well, so let's talk about the packaging. I mean, I know we can't really talk about like all of the things in detail, but like this process that we're experiencing now, somewhat for the first time at this scale, as far as like, putting together the right team around this project, with obviously us producing it, but like some of the cast that we've got in place and the people who are helping us, kind of gather this team.
Man, first of all, packaging is such an important word, really on any side of the tracks when it comes to the film entertainment business.
Every meeting I have is, what's the package?
Man, packaging. I feel like it took me 10 years to realize there's actually no way to get around the package. Actually, no, there's one way to get around the package, is to make something that's award-winning. Yeah. And that is something that you can't plan on. You never know what's going to win the award.
Yeah.
This is our kind of first opportunity, and I want to give the credit to the years of work and the projects that we've done over the years. This is our first opportunity to actually package something. Mm-hmm. So package meaning getting the right actors for the right roles. It means getting the right producers or executive producers to sign on to say that they're going to help. Mm-hmm. It can also mean, getting the right distribution company or production company to support and be part of the project.
Yeah.
But ultimately, even when you hear about people fundraising, whatever, we need the money usually to start the packaging process.
Right.
Usually you need the, call it a $5 million film production. Normally you need that money so that you can lock in the talent,
right,
the actors for the lead roles, and then actually package it. And that becomes part of the packaging. We're not at the $5 million scale with this project, but by grace of God, we've got great actors in lead roles, and they've also come on as producers. We've also got another great producer who shares our same passions and nerd needs. Michael Kelly, we're going to have him on the podcast as well and talk all kinds of good stuff.
Yeah,
he's doing things that I didn't know you can do in film. It's incredible, but we've got something really interesting brewing, and it's the packaging.
Yeah, I think the thing that I've been learning a lot about packaging over the last year, and then just like looking specifically at what we're doing with this project, like I used to think when they're just like, oh, like what's the package? I'd just be like, well, I have 5 friends who can act, so like they're going to be in the project, right? And like my friend is a director, he's going to direct it. So like I have a director and I have my cast, so like
that's the package.
Where's my money? That's my package. And they're just like,
nah, bro.
No.
Like even
I can't make a pitch deck and then they look at the deck and they're like, who is this? And it's just like, that's my best friend.
That's the nugget right there. You can't send a package to someone, a deck, and they look at the cast, they look at the director, and they say, who is this?
But even more so, because we've also had it the reverse way, where you make a pitch deck and you're like, this is who I would want in my ideal role, and they're like, oh, how did you cast Michael B. Jordan? And I'm just like, well, I didn't, but like if you gave me the money, I would.
yeah. That's almost a no-no, or you got to make it super clear.
It's like
he is not affiliated.
Yeah,
we would like him to be. Yeah, no, but the idea of that packaging, even from the perspective of as a writer, director, producer, and you don't have credits yet.
Yeah.
You are hurting the package. And so when you're going out there and you're doing this stuff, you have to understand. You have to be humble as heck that you are going out, and if no one's joining you, it's because it's not a good package. And you still have yet to prove yourself to get to the place where you can even get the name or whatever it is.
Because it's not to say that it's bad, but it's just to say that, like, even if someone reads a script, which many have read, even if it's great, because it's not, like, anyone can read a script and be like, yeah, you're a good writer, but, like, what are your credits?
Right.
You know,
right.
That question.
The
what are your, it's literally
it's
like, so what have you written on? What have you made? What's something that I can see? Because there's still, like, certain checks that need to happen with each next step.
And yes, it is cyclical, and it's not going to change.
The best part about our package is that, like, I feel like I'm the least value add to the package, which means we're doing a good job, you know?
Well, I mean, again, just to connect with Novi, connect with Mike, some of the other actors.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I feel like, oh man, I truly feel lucky to work with these people. That's how I know it's better.
Yeah.
But the crazy thing is this project and the way that we have it set up is intended to actually do the bigger budget packaging, right? So the names that we have, and once we can make this proof of concept, as it's called, we can now use this proof of concept, this finished 15 or 20-minute thing that shows you the story, the idea, the characters, the world, that can then be used to share with bigger names, A-listers, B-listers, and maybe actually get that $3 or $5 million for a feature. Or maybe it does get one of these streaming services to greenlight a series based off of the project.
Yeah.
And it's just an interesting thing because we're probably starting at like let's call it the C level of packaging, right? And part of the reason why it's at that level is we're all kind of aware of where we're at, where we're not, and where we want to be. And we all know that, man, if we could just nail this 15-minute visual, we can get that B or A level packaging.
Yeah.
And that packaging there, I mean, that's why we're in the game, is to make projects at that level. But boy, for me, 10 years coming and a lot of lessons and a lot of projects that no one has ever seen and maybe never will see, a lot of projects that had potential, but there was pitfalls and there was mistakes and failures that we had to make and learn from.
Yeah.
But it almost takes this long to find the right idea, to find the right team, and even just to write something that isn't just a vanity project, which a lot of the stuff that we're going to do for a while until we figure out what the industry wants, we're just writing vanity stuff, what we think is cool, which is great. But you have to, it takes a while, but you have to learn, well, what does the industry also want? Yeah. What is the industry also missing? And how do you land all that? And it's taken this long to get to this little 15-minute project.
It feels like a great time to be an independent producer. It feels like we're definitely on the right track, not just with this project, but just with the decisions that we're making, development, the projects that are coming up. I don't know. It feels like we're definitely on the right path, and as things continue to shift in the industry, we're kind of setting ourselves up.
Yeah, I think that's probably a good place to cut, because I think we can get into next. We can talk more about some of these strategies, some of the more mechanics of like, what we're doing together, what we're doing separately. What does TV look like?
Yeah.
What does animation look like?
Yeah.
What does indie film look like? I've talked a little bit about horror. But yeah, I think we can kind of get to some more of those mechanics.
Next time on crackheads in Hollywood. We'll be discussing all of our favorite things.
Hollywood crackhead? That's not bad.
We're gonna figure it out.
I think that's getting close. Crackheads in Hollywood is close. We'll smoke with you on the next one. Pass that rock.